Right, let's get this show on the road. It worked. Everything worked. I have copied the contents of all of those disks off onto this computer. I've then assembled them into ADF disk images that can be run in an Amiga emulator, such as the one you see here right now. So let's have a look at them. Let me get in the disk image of the first one to look at. And go. And we start to load on the Amiga's horribly slow disk drive. Even emulated and sped up, it's still annoyingly slow. So here we have a little introductory text file thing. Now, one of the themes I think that's going to come across in most of the stuff we look at is the fact that I cannibalized just anything I could get my hands on when I was making these games. I could draw graphics, not well, but I could do that. But I had no way of making sounds or pretty much anything else. So much of what ended up in my games were things that I just swiped from somewhere else wherever I could find them. And one of the things I would do is if I saw a disc that had some useful little utility on the front of it, and I felt like using it, I'd swipe that and use it as well. And so that's where this pretty rainbow-coloured text display thing came from. I just liked the look of it and thought I'll have that. Didn't think about the fact that, as you see, one of the games on this disc needs 2 joysticks, and yet this thing needs a mouse to navigate it. So in order to actually use this disc, you'd have to be swapping mouses and joysticks around, but that's okay. So there's 2 games on this one. My 2, I guess, main games, the 2 most complete-ish that I did, Boing was the first one and The Little Guys was the second. I don't know why I have them around the other way here, but Boing, I gave a little bit of a storyline. You're a little guy, you're in a village, you drove around on disposable scooters that self-destruct when they run out of petrol. That will come in important later. Bit of controls, bit of credits. Look, there's me, I did that. There's my friend Richard who helped out. There's my brother who helped out, and good old Francois Lyonnais who actually made Amos in the first place. A bit of talk about it, saying, do you want to give me a donation? And a lot, when it comes to swiping things other people did, even the format, I guess, of these things, I'd see other people put out their discs and they'd do things like, give me a donation if you feel like it. Here are the credits. Even giving the size of everything. And interestingly, this would be early 90s, I guess. I think the date on one of these is 1994, so it's around that. But here we've got, 130k, basically, for one game. That's 150, 174k for another game. That's the past for you. So let's quit out of this little introductory text file that didn't even really need to be there in the first place. Now this although these were the earliest games I did, this disc I think is a bit is one of the later ones where I was starting to play around with doing things like having a loader. So this is one program that I wrote which just pops up this menu and lets you then load other games from it just to look pretty, basically. So if I push 1, we now sit here and it looks as though nothing's happening, but that's just because this takes so long to load. No, it looks like it's thinking about something. It briefly looked like it was thinking about something. There we go. God, that was such a long time for it to not even... That was just to start, I think. I don't know. Anyway, so here's our first game, Boing. And as with the style of the time, we have a title page that basically tells you everything you might possibly want to know about the game. Notice next to the title there it says version 1.2. This was a nice surprise. I have talked... I did years ago find a copy of this game online as a result of me sending a disc away to a Amiga magazine that I liked many, many years ago, and somehow someone got their hands on it and digitized it as part of a Amiga public domain connection or something. So I got that, but it was the original version. This version, I went back and tarted up the graphics a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. So if we push fire to start the game, here I am. Now, speaking of swiping, there we go. I thought that would have made more of a noise. The scooter that I'm riding was a stock sort of graphic that came with Amos that I like the look of, and I thought I'd use it. Here's that bastard dragon. I always made that one much too difficult, really, for the first screen of the game. Jumping over that damn thing is one of the most... Also, speaking of laughably primitive things, the sort of the hitbox on that thing is the entire sprite. So if the puff of smoke that comes out of the back of it hits the dragon, you die. There we go, gotcha. Now, oh yeah, but I didn't want to keep using the thing, so I made an excuse, just made it blow up for no good reason. And now you're on foot. Now, if you're wondering, that's annoyingly loud. If you're wondering what the heck is going on with my character when he moves, that's meant to be a sort of a pinwheely, cartoonish looking legs flying all over the place animation. Because I had no idea how to draw something that looked like it was walking. And so if cannibalism is going to be one of the themes of these discs, another one will be me making the best with what I could do. Which sometimes meant... Oh, bugger. Sometimes meant that I would come up with clever ways of working around my limitations, but also meant that I never actually bothered to try to better myself in any way or actually learn how to do anything better at all. So we'll see eventually. I did learn how to do a walk cycle and make things a little bit better, but for now that was one of many compromises I made. Now, the dragons, now that you can not on the annoyingly large scooter, are great. And as I recall, somewhere around here, there we go, I put in a little secret warp thing. Which, what does that do? Does that just warp me to the next screen? Yep, okay. So we jump over that, we jump over that, and we jump over... Oh, no, we messed that up. I'm pretty sure I put another warp in somewhere else, no idea where. Ah. One more go. I must have one life left, yes. Did I get an extra life? Oh, that's right, you get an extra life for getting the secret as well. There we go. That's even more annoying. The score, by the way, is absolutely meaningless. There isn't even a high score table or anything. I just put it in because games have scores. And now here we are in the graveyard. Oh. And that's game over. So you'll notice the gravy things in the background, and if I go back here, the hills and the clouds, that's basically version 1.2. There are I think there are a couple of slight improvements elsewhere in the game. Let's have one more run through. And if I don't manage to do much better than this, maybe I'll just cheat. Because of course I can load this up in Amos, the language it was written in, and give myself infinite lives, or possibly take away the collisions if I can actually remember how things worked anymore. There are basically when I say this is a complete game compared to some of the other stuff I came up with, it's kind of true. I mean, it has only 2 levels, which amount to 10 screens, or maybe 10 and one extra one. But it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Let's go for that secret again. It has a final confrontation with the boss, and then a game complete screen and everything. That's one of the things that I... Oh, there we go. I've gone. It's one of the things I improved in the 1.2 version. But let's see if I can make it bang on. No, it doesn't look good. The other thing is that on the discs I have the source, all the... I'm talking and playing at the same time and cocking everything up, that's fine. I have the source for everything, which means all the background images and stuff are there, so I can always... No, I've lost the knack of this completely. There's the farmy one, the hills, there was the Graveyard. After that, you get a single screen against the boss where you're now on an aeroplane for no good reason, and instead of jumping you have to dive under lasers that the boss shoots at you or something, and then you go up and hit a button, and then that is the end of the game, and then the boss explodes. If I can be bothered, maybe I can load this up again later and fiddle it in Amos and try and do things. But anyway, for now, that's this game. Now, I don't know if you can actually quit out of it like that, can you? Some of the ones I can, but I might have to pop my emulator open and reset it so that we can look at the other one on this disc. Load, 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 you slow, slow machine. Right. Get rid of the text. Welcome to Josh's Amos Games. What's another little thing I learned how to do? It's thinking, it's thinking. It's loading up the menu very slowly, so if I push 2 this time... Oh, that was quick. Why was it so slow last time? That's interesting. At least it came up with something. It's loading, it's loading, it's thinking. Okay, now we have the other one, the little guys. First things first. If you're a fan of old Amiga games, those little guys might look a little bit familiar, and if they do, it's because I copied them completely from the characters from the classic game Rainbow Islands. Basically just took an image of there and copied it pixel for pixel pretty much, and then gave them different outfits, and those were my little guys. The little guys was the what I called the game. It was one of those... I called it the little guys because there was 2 little guys, thinking I'll come up with a better name for it, and then just never did. Now it suddenly occurs to me I just need to pop into the settings here and change the mouse to a joystick controller so that this works, because as I said you need 2 joysticks. So there's a 2-player game. If we wait for the credits to scroll, there we are. There's me again, there's Richard, there's both my brothers now. There we go, 23rd of January 1994 is when I put this version out. So if we push fire, the game starts. Oh, here we go. Not quite sure why he flew over there. So basically, you have 2 characters controlled by joysticks, and all they can do is whack at each other. So the little dude in the armor pulls out a giant mallet, which I thought quite nicely. Wasn't quite sure what to do for the other guy, so he just sort of has this zappy fireball thing. You have little boosters on your feet because you can fly around anywhere, and that was easier than trying to figure out walking and jumping and how to make good use of the screen. So basically you just bash away at each other. You whack and it makes sound effects. Again, these sound effects, all the ones I ripped. There was a thing, what was it called? I think it was called Action Replay, a thing that you could plug into the side of your Amiga, and it had a little button on it, this wee peripheral. You push the button anytime you're playing any game, and it would sort of freeze the game and then give you access to everything that was in memory at the moment. And that meant you could sort of rip sound effects and all sorts of stuff and music out of games as you were playing them. And so that was one way I ended up finding a lot of sound effects. And so all of these are ones that basically just came from other games, and I just plain swiped them. But basically, you see a whack at each other, you have energy down the bottom that slowly goes down. One thing I found difficult, which is a problem with fighting games to this very day, is the idea of balance. How do you make it? This guy's mallet is massive and takes up a big area. This guy's ball is small, so this guy I think has longer range, but this guy covers a wider area or something. But even then, I mean, basically this might amuse 2 people for about 2 or 3 minutes until they get tired of swinging each other around. So last of the energy, he falls to the ground and goes wallop. And the game is done. And that's literally all there is to it. Now, later on, going through one of the discs I have full of unfinished projects, I found what was kind of the Little Guys 2.0. I revisited this concept and made it a bit fancier and a bit more of an actual game. But we'll have to look at that later. So there we go. This is the first game disc that I now have full access to. And these are the 2 main sort of games that I made, and I would say released into the... I'm pretty sure I sent a copy of this disc overseas as well at one point, but I've never found it anywhere, so now I'll have to distribute it myself. And there we go, disc number 1. How about that?